Ladies and gentlemen, it is week 7. It is lightning round. Of course, you're on Better Sports Network. Of course, you're on Fantasy Alarm. Coop, we got your internet working again. What's up, my brother?
Back, dude. Back for the first time. Yeah. Got the internet working, dude. Got the sunglasses working on overload right now. There we go. Now I'm good. Wasn't wearing them start, so I figured I had to make up for it. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're back, baby. Britt Flinn, of course, will be with us shortly. She's doing a super important weekly segment she does on ESPN. Pretty fancy, but
the news. The news.
She's on the Noog, ESPN the Noog, dude. Yeah, just telling them what's up. But thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thanks for trickling into the chat. Definitely get your questions in today for waivers. We're going to be doing questions today and
biggest bye weeks. 6 teams on bye.
Terrifying. The algorithm, they always brag, right? They have that commercial that plays. It's like, we got the coolest algorithms, They just, they set the whole schedule. It's perfect. And I look at it and I'm like, perfect for who? Right? Like you have
2 weeks with no buys.
2 weeks with no buys. I think one of them is Thanksgiving, so I give them a pass on that. But why are there no bye weeks next week? So there's 6 this week and none next week. Cool algorithm, you dweebs. And then also there's bye weeks on week 14, which I know fantasy football is technically now 15, 16, 17, but still unnecessary, dude. Unnecessary. Like just come on, dude.
What are we doing here?
Right?
Like
back-to-back London.
We can book a monkey on the moon. We can fix our bye weeks.
Fact, dude. Fact. It's like, what are they trying to do? They're up to something, right? They're up to something. I think if you like the Jaguars, doing the Jaguars 2 weeks in London and having the Bills be the second week once the Jaguars are fully acclimated to everything over there, they were up to something there. They wanted to get the Jags an advantage there. Whole lot. We can get into the conspiracies, folks. We can get into the conspiracies if you want.
Yeah, they are Britain's team. So, I mean, there is something to be said for that. But you know what?
That was a home game for the Bills, quote unquote. Home game.
Quote unquote. But you know what? After Ravens Titans and having to get up for that, like I think we kind of jumped the shark. Luckily, we have a good Germany game coming up. And speaking of coming up, Britt Flinn live, straight from ESPN Chattanoogas.
Morning, guys. How's it going?
How are the Noogs?
It was great. We had a lot of waivers and injuries and fun stuff to go through. Week 7 is going to be brutal, man. It was like I could talk for 2 hours about this if I could. That waiver wire article that just dropped on Fantasy Alarm, literally over 2,700 words because there's just so much to talk about. But it was great.
It is crazy this week, man. It is crazy. It's like in my Scott Fishbowl team, I have a quarterback who's medically cleared to play, who's not playing, which right? Like one of my, which is just, I look around at the other injuries and bye weeks, and that one has just pissed me off now. It really is. Like DeShaun Watson, of all the things this week I'm dealing with, you're going to sit there and be like, not quite, not going to play. It's just, come on, dude.
Well, hey, at least you don't have Justin Fields with CJ Stroud as your backup.
I guess the play was just to get the guy that was going to break his middle finger on his not throwing hand and just let him, kind of through it.
Play conservative, right?
Oh, God. But you know what? I'm just happy that I'm 4-2 Kings Classic. My team is getting healthier with Austin Eckler back. I'm glad I don't have to throw Trenton Irwin in my flex. It's good times all around.
Yeah, for sure. Joey Wright has a question in the chat for us. One of my favorite questions that I've yet to be able to really figure out. I'd love for you guys to weigh in. Would you rather have your wide receiver have lobsters for hands or lunch boxes for feet? I imagine lobster claws, but let's go with full lobsters for this one.
It depends on how big he is. If he has lunch boxes for feet, then people aren't going to be able to bring him down. So it doesn't matter how fast he is. But if he's a little guy, then you don't want the lunch boxes. I would rather have the lobster hands because he can catch it with his body.
The question is, how much do the lobster how much do the lunch boxes on your feet impede your movement? If you just put them into your shoes and it doesn't affect your movement at all, then that's clearly the answer. But if the lunchbox feet are really causing you trouble movement wise, then I don't know. They're just not going to be effective.
So what this question boils down to what is essentially, would you rather have Rashad Bateman or Adam Thielen?
Because Thielen has lunch boxes for feet,
and Rashad Bateman is actively avoiding passes thrown to him.
I mean, if they're big enough lobsters, they do have a lot of legs. I mean, it might actually be easier to grab a football.
I don't know. Have you seen the guy on Lobster Talk? Some of those lobsters that he gets are very, very large. Little chompers.
Big lobster show today here on my.
What's Lobster Talk?
Like on TikTok, anything that you're on, it's like Swift Talk, or Lobster Talk, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you're on Lobster Talk, which I am.
You've dabbled.
I really enjoy seeing the lobsters. Some of those hands are or they're not hands, they're claws, but they are very large. I think that they could catch a football, to be honest.
I'm not
again. There are so many layers to this question, Joey. We need context.
We need more context. Yeah.
Just like we need context with trade questions, with start sit questions, with all of that. Give us all of the context when you ask questions, including lobster claws.
Lobster Talk seems like it's kind of popping, to be honest. I don't really dabble in the TikTok, but Linda showed me this one guy that tracks sharks and one turtle. And dude,
turtle.
He tracks like a bunch of sharks and one turtle. And man, that is some entertaining content. But anyway, maybe we should talk about football at some point.
No, because I want to talk about one thing that I love on TikTok.
Okay,
is storm drain TikTok. Have you guys ever seen that? Where people like clear out like leaves and debris and stuff like that, and then they watch like the drains just take all like the water and stuff.
Where they put the tire through the ditch, like with a tractor. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
I've seen a couple clips of that. I've seen someone do one on like the side of a dam.
That's like the silly putty, like on Instagram, like that kind of. It's satisfying.
Yeah, my favorite one of those satisfying channels. Have you seen the power washing ones, dude?
Yes, those are good.
That's nice,
too.
Dude. That's nice, bro. That's good stuff.
Who needs football when we have storm drain lobster? Yeah. All the subgenres of TikTok. But you know what? We are through 6 weeks here of the NFL season, and I think it is time where we talked about Adam Thielen, and I know Britt has a soft spot for that lovable lunch pail foot Carolina Panther. I guess I tried. It was worth.
You did fine. I'd say you did fine.
Attempt was made.
It's not a soft spot. It's a production spot. I like guys who produce. And he's producing. And
that's why receiver 3.
I think where you got him, especially basically for free. I mean, love him. I have him in the Pros with Joes with Hope Myers. Our team is 6-0. We are absolutely crushing. And Adam Thielen has been a gigantic part of that. So we actually have Adam Thielen and yours, Kevin, but I'm not going to spoil yours. On the same team. So there is an argument to be made for both, but in a PPR format, I think I have to lean with Adam Thielen.
Yeah. I mean, we used to complain that he was just empty touchdowns, but now he's got tied for second most receptions in the league with Stephon Diggs. Well, I guess technically they're both tied for third because Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua have 50. He has 49. The next highest guy is Tyreek Hill with 42. So Thielen's locked in, baby. He's back. And I said, I think it was on this show. It might have been one of the other shows, but I really wanted the Lions to go after Adam Thielen. Can you imagine if the Lions had Thielen on one side as like the possession split end and Amon-Ra St. Brown doing his thing and Jamison Williams as the field stretcher and Sam Laporta? I mean, man, that would be wheels up. Instead, they have Josh Reynolds, who is fine, but it's teams just they didn't think he still had it. Panthers knew.
Panthers did know. No, I guess I don't want to say they know ball quite yet, but they're knowing ball adjacent right now. Look,
Frank Reich doesn't know ball because he just handed over offensive play calling duties.
That is true. But yeah, look, my thesis for Adam Thielen, like he has a 27% target share right now. Nobody else has over 13.6. That's Jonathan Mingo. So look, Bryce Young looked a lot better this week than he has in the previous, 4 or 5 games. So my one concern with Adam Thielen is that if Bryce Young starts targeting some of these deeper guys like the DJ Charks, the Jonathan Mingos, the Terrace Marshalls, maybe that target share comes down a little bit. But look, you can't really argue with the production of Adam Thielen. I picked him up in a league where I really needed wide receiver help, and now I'm rocking Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Jalen Waddle, and Adam Thielen. Like that is awesome. Love to hear it, love to see it. But if you got him, ride the wave. I don't know if I want to say it's quite a sell high. I did make the mistake of saying Cooper Kupp is a sell high like 2 years ago, and that did not turn out too well for me. But Adam Thielen is no Cooper Kupp, so I think maybe there's a little more credence to it. But yeah, ride the wave. I'm totally good with it. And the player that Britt was actually, you know what? Before I get into mine, we've got some questions here in the chat.
Let's clear the deck on questions.
Yes, let's deck clear here after our lobster question from Joey. Gabe the Babe, afternoon, y'all. Trade advice: give Kamara for Adams. In a vacuum, I am not doing that, even though I do have some concerns about the Raiders quarterback situation with Jimmy Garoppolo going to the hospital with his back. And then Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell. Like, I have some big questions about the Raiders quarterback situation, but Kamara is basically our generation's Leonard Fournette right now, with all, receiving not that efficient on the ground. And, Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. I can't bring myself to do that.
In a 10-team league, you got to let us know. In general, it really helps with these trades to know if you start 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers, because you never do that trade if it's a 2 wide receiver league, because I have leagues that are even 12 teams where you start. I have 12 and 14 team leagues where you start 2 wide receivers. And even in my 14 team league, I look at the wide receivers on my bench and I'm just like, man, I got nowhere to put these guys. And also after Eckler and Walker, Spears and Charbonnet, that's a pretty big drop off. You drop off from 2 running back ones down to like guys that are arguably maybe not even RB3s, right? So I just keep the 3 running backs in that situation, start Kamara in the flex and be happy with it. Because I like Pittman, Nico, and Amari and London. Like, you're good, man. You don't got to do that trade.
Yep, I completely agree. I've been in and out on Devontae Adams. I was out on him going into the season, and the past 2 weeks, it kind of looks like maybe I'm right. And then especially if Jimmy G doesn't play and we get another Aiden O'Connell game, definitely womp womp. Don't like it.
I still like Adams, but yeah, if Jimmy's going to be hurt, then you can't. I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah. Well, peek behind the curtain. That is one of my biggest concerns with a guy like Michael Mayer, who we saw finally flipped Austin Hooper playing as the sole tight end in like 75% of 11 personnel. So that my one concern is the quarterback situation, and can they support Myers and Adams and Mayer? But look, I'd even say see if you could take 2 of those wide receivers and condense them down and trade them for Adams. If you're wanting to improve there, like taking 2 of those guys and turning that into Devontae Adams with the other 2 guys, I think would be awesome if you're able to do that too.
Yeah. And real quick on Michael Mayer, like, people get so excited when like things change just a little bit. It's not like he went from not playing to all of a sudden being Darren Waller and playing every single snap. He went from being the bad half
rotational guy, right? Basically.
Well, he went from being the bad half of a rotation to being the top half of a rotation, but he still only ran 66% of the routes. He still only ran 2/3 of the routes. So it's not like he all of a sudden it's not like Austin Hooper got hurt and now they just have one guy and he's doing everything. He's still only a part-time guy and he's not a top 2 target on the team. What Michael Mayer's been now upgraded to is a bench stash.
I'd say he's a streamer.
Yeah. I had him in my waiver wire article as a streamer. Again,
look, I'd rather have him than guys like Gerald Everett.
Well, dude, no one was drafting Gerald Everett. I told everyone
Ian
not to
Hartis
draft
was apparently.
Irv. Told them not to draft Irv Smith, not to draft Gerald Everett. Honestly, not to draft Dallas Goedert or George Kittle or Pat Freiermuth. They were all in my article there. But Michael
this was
Mayer,
always the hope is that
how high can you move him?
I mean, he's probably like in the teens, but that's all you really need for a streamer.
For 1 week, looking for a good matchup.
With bye weeks now, we're starting to get into those. I think it's going to be even harder to find a tight end who's moderately viable. I mean, it's a pretty condensed target tree with the Raiders.
Because they use Josh Jacobs, not Josh Jacobs. They use Jakob Johnson, the fullback.
Right. And then they use a bunch of like the Trey Tuckers and the DeAndre Carters of the world.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see. I think if Eddie Jackson's out this week, that will the Bears are one of those teams that they have one guy that's good at covering the tight end. When he plays, they're good versus the tight end. When he doesn't play, they're terrible versus the tight end. So let's just see what happens with Eddie Jackson. If he's out, Michael Mayer will be interesting. If he's playing, Eddie Jackson covering a rookie tight end is just not something I'm interested in.
That's fair.
Well, and again, the quarterback situation.
Right.
Got to keep an eye on that.
Right.
So,
good morning, 8-man PPR. Do I trade Waddle and Kirk for Bijan? I have Walker, JT, and Brees as RBs, AJ Brown, Moore, and Lockett. Don't think I'm doing that. I mean, I think you're pretty good at running back. I don't, unless you're starting all four running backs. I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far to trade Waddle and Kirk, considering if you did that. I mean, you still have Diggs, Brown, Moore, and Lockett. Like, I don't know if it's that much of a big step up to do that.
That's the worst part about 8-man leagues is
Everybody's
that you have a plethora of riches. And so it makes it very difficult. I think the thing here is that this player is worried about JT because JT hasn't seen the snap share. JT is going to get that snap share. I don't think that you need to trade away two of your receivers for a player who is eventually going to get there when you have Walker and Brees, who are just as good. Yeah. I think that you're just panic paying a little bit.
Yeah, the question of the day, again, how many guys, like how many flexes are there? If I'm playing like an 8 or 10-man league, I like to have like a ton of flexes. If it's just your standard like 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league, then maybe I do trade for Bijan, because you do that trade, Bijan's like you're the best player on your team, right? I mean, the best player in the trade is Bijan.
Yeah.
Well, best player, but best fantasy player, because Arthur Smith's usage of him has not been as a rusher. He was lined up running routes, and the routes still went, or the targets still went to people like Jonnu, to Kyle Pitts, to Drake London. Like, he was out there running routes, but he wasn't getting the targets. So Bijan is the best player, yes, but best for fantasy, I don't think so.
Who's the best player on the team for fantasy? Diggs?
I mean, yeah, I would actually argue AJ Brown.
Yeah, it's between Diggs and AJ Brown, but
And Brown. What about the running backs? Would that be his best running back?
No.
Bijan, or like as with Walker and JT and Brees?
I mean, in PPR,
probably per game, Walker right now.
Kenneth Walker has 18.3 points per game. Bijan has 15.8. And Brees Hall, the way he's been playing, I mean, if you throw away some of the early games, then maybe he's in that conversation too. But I think Bijan's still one of the top 2 running backs of that group.
Yeah, 100%. It's him and Walker, I think, right now. And then, JT and Moss are kind of ships passing in the night right now. I think probably JT's going to outsnap Moss next week. It's probably going to be fairly close still. But the way it's going, that's what it's looking like. It's looking like you're probably going to see Taylor with like 55% of snaps to Moss's like 40 or so.
I just don't think you need to trade away 2 pieces for that 1 piece. It feels like an overpay.
The problem is he's right now with the team. When you have Diggs, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, Jalen Waddle, and Christian Kirk, you're never going to start Christian Kirk.
I would start Waddle or Kirk over Lockett.
You can, but it's so in the flex. But you're not starting Lockett either. You're starting running backs.
Am I?
I actually think that he's better off with the 4 wide receivers and the 4 running backs than he is with three wide receivers and the 3 running backs and 7 wide receivers. I just honestly, Walker, JT, Brees might be a little thin. That's all. I think I do like the trade.
Yeah. Let's go over here. GT Sport, what up? Trying to decide if I should roster Kareem Hunt or AJ Dillon. I would probably be rostering Kareem Hunt here, if I'm completely honest. I don't. AJ Dillon does nothing for me. Aaron Jones, is going to be a little bit healthier there. I mean, Jerome Ford is still getting some work, but Kareem Hunt is certainly viable as a back end flex, RB3 type. So I'd much rather have him. I think he's even in the limited work he's shown more to me than Dillon.
Yeah, but the big red flag for Dillon was that they just bring up Patrick Taylor and give him pass work. Like AJ Dillon doesn't become the full-time back like we thought he might, right? So if he's not going to, he doesn't even, he's basically just we talk about handcuffs and then handcuff pluses. He's basically just a plus because he's not really a handcuff. His usage doesn't get any better when Aaron Jones is hurt. Patrick Taylor plays. So yeah, just give me Kareem Hunt. His usage got a little better this week. So
yeah, it was that one game, like what was it, last like Thursday or Monday, whatever it was, against the Raiders, that they just ran and ran and ran. And Dillon wasn't incredibly efficient. He just ran the ball a bazillion times. And so if you're looking for actual work, I think that Hunt has the better path to snaps and targets than Dillon.
Scamp's got a question. Short, but also possible long-term ad. Geno, Russ, DeShaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Dobbs, Ritter. So a lot of QBs available in this league. I've got leagues where I lost Anthony Richardson and the options aren't that good. So for short term, we're talking this week. I'm looking around, and I think if you really want to play it safe, Scamp, I mean, Geno's got the Cardinals, right?
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. So for real short term, Geno Cardinals, he might be my long-term answer as well.
Yeah.
The rotator cuff thing for DeShaun Watson is kind of spooking me.
It's not even the rotator cuff thing. It's the fact that he has removed himself from media availability, that he's not talking to anybody. I think that it's more than just an injury. I think that he has fallen short of expectations. I think that he's upset with where he is. Do you think a guy with DeShaun Watson's mentality is really going to be happy in Cleveland, especially if the spotlight is not on him? I don't. I think it's much more than the rotator cuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just from a standpoint of his relationship with the team, he's already just done something that we all kill Michael Thomas for, which he just said, I don't trust the medical staff here, right? That's what everyone has killed Michael Thomas for, is that his tweets, all the convoluted ones, have basically been, that they misled me, right? They basically told him he could play through the ankle. And then after the season, they said, oh, now that the playoffs are over, you should have surgery on that, right? And they did kind of mislead him. And now Deshaun Watson's saying, hey, they might say that I'm okay, but I'm not playing. That's, that right there is disagreement with the organization. So that kind of stinks, man. And the other thing for Geno, in terms of, you say short-term and possible long-term, tell you what, already had his bye week, right? At certain positions, especially, and Britt, you and me kind of talked about this briefly on Twitter, especially at defense, huge advantage to have a defense that you just can set and forget. Like Cleveland Browns, got to be feeling pretty good about the Brownies after they did okay versus the 49ers. They've already had their bye week. Where I have the Cleveland Browns, knock on wood, my plan is just to set them and leave them until maybe in playoffs. I always get cute and start adding multiple kickers, and not kickers, but multiple defenses, just to prevent my opponent and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good about that. And same thing, just knowing you can start Geno for the rest of the year and not have to use a bench spot on that, it's valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a little worried about the close to like the end game for Geno, because he does have San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly. That's kind of dicey there. And then
that's the end of his schedule. That's ridiculous.
Weeks 12 through 15.
That's the Seahawks schedule.
San Francisco,
Coop's got to double check it. He's got to fact check it.
Can't be right, dude.
Come on.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's not good, dude.
The not so independent fact checker.
That's like all the good defenses. Oh man, and the second game against the Cardinals is week 18, so it doesn't even matter for fantasy.
Don't you hate that? Like the Buffalo Miami is like a prime matchup of the entire season. Obviously we had that, but the second game's in week 18. Like, what are we doing?
Should all be set up the way Derrick Henry's schedule is set up. Have you seen that?
The Houston, yeah.
His playoff schedule goes Houston, Seahawks, Dolphins, Houston, Seahawks, Houston. So 2 out of 3 of his playoff matchups are against the team that he always runs for 200 yards on.
By that time, it'll be Tajay Spears.
Ooh, big sip, dude. Big sip. What are you sipping?
I'm literally drinking the tea.
Drinking the tea, dude. By tea, you mean Everclear.
Tired, it'll be Tajay Spears.
I'm
in the South. It's sweet tea.
It'll be Derrick Henry. It'll be Derrick Henry for those games.
Tired, it'll be Tajay Spears. Wired, it'll be Julius Chestnut. But
Chestnut, great name. You got to root for a guy with a name like that.
Yeah, roasting on the open fire.
You got any other questions? Or you want to get back to players?
Let's just we'll roll through these real quick. I mean, we still got a little bit to go here. We'll touch on this quick. Thielen with Wright giving up play calling. I mean, I'm more concerned about Bryce Young being able to extend that ADOT a little bit more and getting other guys involved. But I don't know if you guys have any concerns about the play calling here with Reich as it concerns Thielen.
Quick update on Gabe the Babe there. He says it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver league. So definitely don't trade Kamara for Adams.
Let's see. 14 team, I have Fields and Richardson. No question, just need a hug. Yeah.
I'm with you, buddy.
We got you, brother. Let's see what we got.
I'm rolling out Mac Jones in one of those.
Right.
Hey, I've been rolling out Dobbs and Zach Wilson and Scott Fishbowl. It's okay. Hey,
it's great.
It's the only format where you can roll them out and not feel like utter disgust because there's no negative points.
It's crazy when I go through my rankings, no matter how bad the backup quarterback might look, whether it's Tyrod or whoever, I still have to rank Mac Jones 32 because he's the only guy that has been pulled from multiple games. Right? It's like the risk of starting a player like that, knowing that he might throw 2 picks and get pulled and actually get you negative points. I have to rank him 32. I don't know. Do you guys are there any starting quarterbacks this week that you would rank behind Mac Jones? I mean, T-Mobile. I think I would rather have Tyrod.
Like I'm looking right now. I see Tennessee's on a bye, or else Tannehill would probably get it, but he's hurt anyway.
Dude, the thing is, Mac Jones has a real risk of getting you negative points if he throws a couple of picks and gets benched. Like I might rank
Minshew against Cleveland.
Yeah, that worries me.
That could be bad. But he's not going to get pulled. He's not going to get.
No,
benched.
He's not getting pulled for like Sam Ellinger or anything like that. But Cleveland might be doing some work on our boy there.
Yeah.
GT Sport QB play has been killing you to train Bijan for Justin Herbert. I would not do that.
Can't do it. I lost Anthony Richardson, and immediately my inbox for my buddy is either one of his starting quarterbacks. He had Justin Fields and Brock Purdy, and there were 2 trades in my inbox for Raheem Mostert, and this was kind of right when it happened, so before this week, and I couldn't do that either. You got to trade somebody lower, RB2 range. I would consider. But can't do it. It doesn't feel right trading for a quarterback, does it?
I don't know. People are real stingy about their quarterbacks, though.
Good. This kid is in like second to last in a 14-team league, and his best 2 players are quarterbacks. I'm like, dude, you're gonna give me one of those quarterbacks for something less than that. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna give me one, so you might as well just do it now and stop losing.
Right. Chris Kreider here. I have Laporta and Waller. Should I trade Waller for Christian Kirk or for Devonta Smith? I'm targeting a fantasy team with bad tight end options this week. Look, if you could do that, all for it. Either Kirk. I mean, I would put Smith over Kirk, but I think both. If you could trade away Darren Waller for either of those guys, I think that's wheels up.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like do it yesterday.
Yeah, agreed. If they want Waller, absolutely.
100%. Randy on the chat, are you guys targeting Aaron Jones for trades? I mean, he's just kind of there.
He's good when he's healthy, man. He was so dude. Just think
I
back
mean,
to
he
how good he
is,
was
but
week 1. Think
the
of how
team
good he was week 1.
environment is just the vibes are not good.
Well, because the vibe guy, Aaron Jones, hurt. You got to get that sombrero out.
Sombrero back, yeah.
Yeah, get the sombrero going. Get back up to speed, baby. Let's go, dude.
I mean, as a Packer fan, I am 100% worried about the Jordan Love kind of cone of influence with the rest of the offense. Like, I don't want to be like, I saw this coming on April 28th, 2020, but you know, it's not looking good for the boy.
Yeah, but he threw 3 touchdowns that game.
That one game,
right? That's literally where people were at.
That was like a month. That was like a month ago, literally.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not willing to throw him out.
No, I'm not writing the epitaph quite yet. But I mean, they've got look, they're at Denver, and then they got Minnesota and the Rams and Pittsburgh and and they have certainly a pretty good slate for passing game production. Denver, Minnesota, Rams, Steelers, Chargers. Like if you can't get like 3 good games out of that, then I'm gonna be grabbing the old hammer and chisel here and writing the epitaph.
Yeah. Well, you gotta give him time. Hal says he's gonna start Randall Cunningham at quarterback. Honestly, not bad, dude.
Better than I thought it was gonna be Richie Cunningham, but you know what? No one else gets it. Well,
Richie Cunningham probably still better than Mac Jones.
Yeah, a little bit. Dynasty need a spot. Cut Traylon or cut Jaden Reed. Ooh.
I'm not cutting Burks. I'm not cutting Jalen Burks. I'm saying right now, protecting Britt from having to answer this question. Jaden Reed right now is he's a slot guy. Yeah. And you got to look at the path, like Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, all on fairly new contracts. Unless somebody gets hurt or he just becomes so good that they have to go to Romeo Doubs and say, hey, Romeo, you're going to play less so Reed can play more, then his ceiling is probably the Tyler Boyd range for the time being. So I'm willing to let Jaden Reed go to keep Burks.
I'd be asking open up some bench spots if those are the 2 cuts you have.
Right. Yeah. So I actually have a thin dynasty league, and it's the hardest format to play.
I hate that. I can't.
I dropped so many players. I dropped Tyler Boyd. I dropped Tyler Boyd. I dropped Robert Woods, and this is when they were in their like 2nd and 3rd year. And then after that, they had some big years. It's like sometimes you got to make moves like that. It sucks, dude. Good luck figuring. If my defense goes on by, I literally sit there and I say, looks like I'm going to eat a 0. I waived in the draft this year. I waived my 3rd round pick. I had a 3rd round rookie pick, and I just said, I'm not making it. I'm not cutting anybody.
I was going to say,
I'm like, does anybody want it? I like offered. So I was like some sort of trades, 2 for 1s or whatever, and nobody wanted to trade or whatever. I said, I'm just not picking a player. Those are the toughest leagues, the shallow dino leagues.
Yeah,
brutal.
Garrett Wilson and Jonathan Taylor for Debo, Drake London, and Madison. A fair trade. Who wins? 2 best players
context.
Yeah, but the 2 best players for me are Garrett Wilson and Taylor. So I'm taking that side every single day of the week.
Yep.
Let's see.
It really depends. All you got to tell us, Alec, is all you have to tell us is who is the wide receiver that goes to the bench when you make that trade. That's it. Like if you're putting Drake London in and the other guy you were starting is like Michael Wilson, then yeah, maybe you do that trade. Yeah. Let us know who goes to the bench, because if the distance between Drake London and your player that you're replacing isn't that big, then don't do the trade.
Let's see. So a little update here. Tried for Christian Kirk, but was rejected. Connor with this now. Yeah, still the same thesis. If you can get Devonta Smith for Waller, absolutely.
But if he rejected Kirk, then he's probably going to reject Smith.
Waller is one of like the dice. I love Waller, but talk about high risk, high reward. It's like you got a guy like permanent hamstring issues. His quarterback's neck is hurt. Our pets' heads are falling off. Like the offensive line is terrible, dude. Like it's such a bad spot for Darren Waller that like you know what you're getting. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it could be train wreck style bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. PPR streamer Mayor Otten Gesicki Trey McMuffin. By the way, that is my favorite line of all the lines in Super Bad. The hey, McMuffin.
Hey, McMuffin.
My favorite line of the movie.
It is so good, dude. The hobo that says
Yeah,
that.
on the bus.
McMuffin.
I've never seen Superbad.
Oh, you got to check that one out, Britt. That's a
Oh.
really good movie. It's really good.
Yeah. But PPR streamer, we just talked about Mayer, throw Ott and Gesicki, Trey McBride in there.
So I'm doing my scamp. I'm doing my yin and yang tight end today. And then I got an order of events that keeps it airtight is I do my yin and yang today, which sets you up for waivers. And then after that, we do the weekly rankings. But you always got to think about the important thing with tight end. It's not like any other position. You might have to start a guy with a worse matchup 1 week so you don't have to drop a guy you're trying to hold on to. So like Michael Mayer long-term Michael Mayer and Trey McBride are more exciting to hold on to because they're trending up. Mike Gesicki is trending. Who cares, right? But he might be the best start this week. So I'm going to look at it, get you those rankings on Thursday. But for the time being, the guys you should have on your roster are Mayer and then Trey McBride. K-Dot needs an injury to a wide receiver to have upside, and I'm just not sure you can hold on to handcuff tight ends that might not even be good, even if somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the one thing, and like Gesicki, like his routes have been literally all over them. Like he's not trending down. He's not, he's just like what? 41%, 78, 46. Like,
and he only plays wide receiver. So like, and the matchup where Gesicki should have gone off was against the Saints because Alontae Taylor is a terrible slot corner and Gesicki plays slot. He doesn't play tight end, and they're good versus the tight end. They held Hunter Henry to 0 catches. So that part of the prediction was true. Gesicki couldn't catch any of his 4 passes because he's a goofball. Did you see him on the safety to end the game this week? It was comical. It was the worst attempt at blocking I think I've ever seen. It was like, when Fred Flintstone would like bonk a guy with a club and he just cartoonishly falls on the ground. That's what Max Crosby did to Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki tried to block him and Crosby literally just swiped him in the head and Gesicki just fell on the ground. And then Gesicki sacked the quarterback for safety to end the game. So Mike Gesicki, to me, as a Patriots fan, not super happy with what I've seen so far. And from a fantasy football analyst, I can't tell you how you could possibly start that guy. I lean into starting Michael Mayer right now and keep an eye on Eddie Jackson.
On my Scott Fishball team, I have all 3. I have all 3 but Otten, Gesicki, McBride, and Mayer. So that's basically
Odd's got a good matchup. It's just like he's had a bunch of good matchups. They let him play the whole game, and he blocks on a bunch of pass plays.
He's the 4th or 5th.
He never gets the ball. Option. Never gets the ball. What do you think, Brett?
I mean, we know that he's not a blocker. We've known for years that he's not a blocker. Apparently, Bill Belichick knew that he was not a blocker. So why the hell is he blocking?
He basically tried to chip.
The Arthur Smith corollary.
His chip was so bad that it gave Max Crosby extra superpowers to get around. This is what he did. He basically got in the way of the right tackle just enough as he.
Is that the one where he stunted to go back inside the line?
No, he didn't go in. He just ran.
There was one of those though.
Yeah. Literally, if Gesicki did nothing at all, if Gesicki just ran by, then the right tackle probably would have been able to at least get out there to Max Crosby. But Gesicki got clubbed so hard he was in the way of the tackle. It was just the worst chip. I think I honestly, we're talking about tight end blocking, but it was the single worst chip I've ever seen. It somehow his attempt at chipping Max Crosby made the entire play even worse. If they had run 10 guys on the field, they would have been better off.
Yeah. Certainly the worst chip since ketchup chips. Anyway, let's
watch out. Toronto Dave will get you on that. That's a Canadian treat, dude.
I'm a big all dressed guy, so the straight ketchup chips I can't do. Anyway, we've kind of buried the lead a little bit. Coop, who is your fantasy football MVP after 6 weeks?
Yeah, for me, for my personal teams, the guy that's generated the most value for me by far is Sam Laporta. So I had a lot of spots where I was drafting either Dalton Kincaid or Sam Laporta with a safe tight end, or in like my big 14-team league, my big hometown league, I drafted both Kincaid and Laporta. And from week 2 on, I actually started Laporta week 1 because he had a better matchup than Kincaid. So, I just been starting Laporta all year. And it's not even just about the fact that he's actually the tight end 2 right now. I know that, in points per game, Mark Andrews is actually ahead technically. So maybe call him tight end 2, call him tight end 3. I don't care. The value you got in that player is obscene where you're getting, 88 points from Travis Kelce, a guy that went in the first round. You got 79 from Sam Laporta where you took him. And that 79 is worth more than 79 with the positional advantage you got. Sam Laporta has been the MVP for me. I luckily was able to draft him and add him in spots where I didn't draft him. But, it's been good. It's been good.
Eating good in the Cooper household with Sam Laporta.
Just try it. Last right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I will say all my Laporta potty teams are crushing it right now.
People were telling me it was going to be a Laporta potty and it ended up being a Laporta party.
Oh,
bad.
Well, going back to
which
TikTok,
in Boston, they both you say both words the same exact way anyway.
Right. No, going back to TikTok, did y'all see the porta potty romper stomper?
No, go on.
Okay, so it's this girl that was wearing a romper, and these girls like ganged up on her mom.
Oh,
She
yes,
ended up,
yes.
pulling them out of the thing. So I named all of my teams with Sam Laporta, the Laporta potty romper stomper.
That's beautiful.
Is that the one at the Luke Bryan concert or something like that? Or isn't it
like Morgan Wallen?
One of them. I don't know. They're all the same to me.
But yeah, the Laporta potty romper stompers are crushing it because of Sam Laporta.
Hell yeah. Let's go, dude. Romp them, stomp them.
And it's funny because we talk all of our MVPs have been basically late round guys. Like mine will be easily Raheem Mostert, who I think just the way that he's been going, where you had to draft him, the fact that the Miami Dolphins are an absolute wagon as far as efficiency and production. I mean, considering like Devon A-Chain is still like in points per game, he's RB1 right now. I mean, he's not going to play for the next another 3 weeks, but
forget points per game. Like he missed 2 games. He's still RB6 in PPR. Devon A-Chain is. He's just been nasty, but who cares?
But we're talking about Mostert, damn it. And he's, in 6 games. I mean, the top end running back might be back. Like we're looking at guys like A-Chan, 25.4 points per game, CMC 24.7, Mostert 23.2, and you had to draft him in like the 11th or 12th round. Like that was right up against the season. If you drafted a little bit earlier, you're getting him in like the 14th, 15th. But just in terms of like points per where you had to draft him, he's by far and away like the best draft pick.
Just in total points, here are your top 7 RBs right now. If you went with Britt Flynn's strategy, Kev, you also do the same thing too. But Britt wrote the article this year, so she gets the credit on hero RB, anchor RB, Christian. If you went anchor RB with Christian McCaffrey, listen to the other top 7. Christian McCaffrey 1, Raheem Mostert 2, Travis Etienne 3, who you did have to pay up for, Kyron Williams 4, Zach Moss is 5, Devon A-Chain is 6, and DeAndre Swift is 7. So outside of Christian McCaffrey and Travis Etienne, the rest of those dudes were free.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like CRB was pretty good for the running back.
It might catch on.
Not just a passing fad.
Right. The article was written in the original article for Sean Siegel, 2013, and now it's finally come true. That means that in the year 2026, Yin and Yang tight end will finally catch on. It takes 10 years, right? So yeah, 10 years from now, the original Yin and Yang philosophy. Just be ready for it. All right, everybody, just be ready.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, exactly. Oh my gosh, he's right. Let's get back into some of these questions here in a couple minutes. We'll build a showdown lineup for the at least a good matchup, Jaguars Saints. At least it's better than.
Well, we say it's going to be good.
It's not.
The true fact, there has never been an island game that's been worth it. Like we had like 7 minutes of Chargers Cowboys before that turned into a 10-car pileup. But they stopped doing the AFC North games on Thursday because they just turned into bloodbaths, dude. Like people just getting brutally hurt in those games, so they just had to go with other divisions, with some turf or something. Yeah, and the NFL needs to just excommunicate the Giants just from all primetime games from here to eternity.
New York City.
Lots to unpack here. Should I try to trade away DJ Moore with this roster? There's a lot going on here, but I mean,
it's
Salsco.
That's our boy, so we're gonna answer it.
It's hard to say what would be a fair return without knowing what the other teams have and what they
Right.
need.
I mean, I'd be
So
trying to find a tight end, certainly. I know Logan
Yeah.
Thomas is going to have better weeks, but
Yeah. Well, I was a little nervous that he only ran 19 routes. I haven't heard anything about it. I would love for a beat writer to just say, hey, what happened with Logan Thomas? Like, why didn't he play as much? Like, what was going on? So I don't know. Because they didn't use the other wide receiver, the other tight ends either. So very strange.
yeah, that one's almost impossible to answer.
Right.
Just hold on to
Yeah.
I kind of like the team the way it is.
AA here. Who are the Commanders receivers you trust for PPR leagues? I personally only have Curtis Samuel. I mean, McLaurin, certainly. I mean, Jahan Dotson is a fixture on my bench in a 14-team league right now. You can't trust him
He's
anywhere.
going to
The Commanders have made the executive decision that we want to get Jameson Crowder on the field more, which defies all logic and reason. So I don't know what we're doing with that, but McLaurin is still fine as like a high-end RB or a wide receiver 3. Curtis Samuel's and a nice play. We know he gets on the field and he had a touchdown last week. But yeah, Jahan Dotson, you can't trust right now.
This is why in the offseason we get tricked with certain guys. Jahan Dotson for sure, and to some degree George Pickens with the highlights and the highlight reel catches, is that you got to remember for a lot of those highlights, they're doing drills where they're throwing it, it's one-on-one, and they're throwing it up no matter what, right? They're throwing it up. The entire drill is let's see if this guy can catch the ball, right? So of course, contested catch guys are going to look good when you just are doing a bunch of those drills and the QB's throwing it no matter what. Even it's sometimes as a backup QB just throwing it up there, it doesn't matter. In the game, the QB has to be willing to do that, and not every QB is. Eli Manning with Odell Beckham Jr. had no problem just chucking it up, right? This week, Jared Goff throwing to Jameson Williams. He wasn't open, right? He just said, we got one-on-one, I'm going to chuck it up. So far, Sam Howell just doesn't want to just chuck it up to Jahan Dotson. He's had opportunities where, they could do it and they're not doing it. So what are you going to do, right? If they want to dump it, he wants to dump it to Curtis Samuel. He wants to throw it to McLaurin, wants to throw it to Logan Thomas. Can't trust it. But that's the problem with these guys that don't get separation, is that it's up to the quarterback to trust them and just say, hey, you know what? Huck it, chuck it football. And Sam Howell doesn't like doing that.
Yeah.
I would love to see them try it a couple more times, honestly. I don't even have Jahan Dotson anywhere. As a football fan, I kind of like that. I like when they just chuck it up. Those are fun plays. DeAndre Hopkins, all his best highlights are plays where he's not open, right? He's just making a sick play, right? AJ Green used to do that all the time. So just, hey, try it. See what happens, dude. See what happens chucking it up to Jahan. Couldn't be worse than Michael Gallup yesterday.
Right. And by the way, can George Pickens catch? Can George Pickens catch a football? Dude was 99 score in ESPN's catch score last year. So that dude can catch a football. That
he can.
If there's anybody that knows ball, it's George Pickens.
Just throw it up. But they're willing to do it with George Pickens. They're like Kenny Pickett. He doesn't have a problem with it. These mobile QBs sometimes, Sam Howell, he'd rather not just throw it up. He'd rather run around.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's hit these questions real quick. Let's build a showdown lineup here. Jahmyr Gibbs and Zay Flowers, a disrespectful offer for Diggs. I don't know if it's disrespectful, but if you target a Lions fan, you might be able to get this through. But I don't know if I would do it if I had Diggs.
I would laugh at it, to be honest.
Diggs is wide receiver 1, 2, 3. See, it's him, Tyreek, or
Diggs is a top 3 receiver.
Yeah, easily. I mean, and if you really think about it, Thielen's probably Keenan Allen is ahead of Thielen in my opinion. So he just had a bye week, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
14-team Superflex, trade Fields for Pickett. Yeah.
Oh no.
If
you can't afford any more losses, you kind of have to, right?
It depends on where you're at. If you want to keep treading water, I mean, that would be the only reason I would entertain it. But like in
the flex, who are you starting in the flex if it's not a quarterback?
Right.
Yeah, we need context. Again, context.
Good morning, Mateo here. Scampers, we love you as much as you love this show. I just want to let you know that.
Love you, Scamp.
Let's see here. Any more questions? I think we have one here. Then we'll get into our showdown lineup. Interesting spot here. 10-man. Keep 4. Let's see. Should I trade Lamar and CD for Stroud and Taylor or Pollard?
No.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Stroud has looked human the last couple weeks. I mean, not to say that I would say maybe he was playing over his skis a little bit, and then the Houston letting Stroud kind of pass through it certainly helps put a Band-Aid on a lot of the warts, but might have some growing pains here for
let me ask
Stroud.
you this, guys. If you only start 2 wide receivers in that league, would you do it?
Yeah.
No.
So I'd be starting Brown and Pittman.
You'd be starting Brown and Pittman.
No.
I think I might. How many wide receivers do you start, Caden? If you start 3, then don't do it. If you start 3 wide receiver, well, are you starting one in the flex?
Starting 3.
Well, are there 3 wide receiver spots or are there 2 wide receiver spots?
There's 3. There's 3.
He said he's starting 3.
Well, sometimes he could be starting 3, but one's in the flex.
Oh my gosh.
These are important questions.
Well, we are running out of time.
Okay,
we are.
Fine. Don't do the trade, Caden.
Right. Do I hold on to Russell Wilson 10-team league 5-1? I mean, is he your starting quarterback? If so, then I mean,
yeah, don't really know who else is out there either.
Yeah,
right.
You gotta listen to he said 3 in a flex, so definitely don't do the trade. There we go. Good.
Gibbs and Zay Flowers for Aaron Jones. Would not do that. I don't even have to look at the other teams, I don't think, to make that decision here.
Nope.
Let's do DFS lineup. Let's go.
Bing, bang, bong. Let's get in here. So, like I said, Saints, Jaguars. I'm going to tell you right now, I am vetoing automatically Alvin Kamara as our captain.
Okay.
Jags are tough run D. Or are you saying you want him as the captain?
No, he's
I don't.
vetoing.
Yeah, veto. I think that's fair.
Veto.
I think that's fair.
I think the public sentiment is off of Olave for some reason still, even though he had a pretty good game, even though he had like 2 targets and no catches in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a safe captain for me.
Are you in, Britt? I'm in.
I would rather have Olave or like ETN's chalk.
I don't know.
It's a tough run defense.
I do like Kirk as well, but
I do too. Or we could just go full Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill, I mean, like
Taysom Hill was like a legit receiver.
I'm going to rank him this week in my tight end rankings. Like with I always put him in the ones on the website, but like this week he's actually going to be in there in the rankings because he's actually playing tight end now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Nightmare.
Oh God. I don't know. I would rather take the savings from Kirk and the captain.
That's fair.
Because he's done very well.
I like that. I still think it's probably a Lawrence lineup too. I'm a little bit worried.
Settle for you right now. Doesn't Captain Kirk have a nice ring to it?
I mean,
and he even has the C for his name.
The tiebreaker.
Star Trek lineup. Captain Kirk. Get him going.
Yeah.
Are we going Evan? This is actually a really bad matchup for Evan Ingram, to be honest.
Yeah, we're not. Demario Davis, no thanks.
Yeah, and Honey Badger gets in there too, man. Like it's so who is playing slot? Kirk is a perfect one because he goes against Alontae Taylor. Right. Alontae Taylor is terrible. And remember I said earlier this week that he was outside the top 400 DBs. He led up the touchdown to Robert Woods. He was in man-to-man on Robert Woods. So like he might not even be in the top 500 defensive backs on Pro Football Focus. Gotta check it. But like, good God, man. So yeah, Kirk is the spot.
Need for Shaheed?
Yeah, I like him. 6 targets, deep threat.
Cheap.
Stud.
Groupie.
Cheap stud.
I don't know.
Didn't
he missed a couple field goals, didn't he?
Yeah, but those were his first 2 of the entire season.
That's
like Groupie has been good.
Okay. And they're indoors. So
yeah.
Captain Kirk, baby.
That gives us 9,200 to put in Calvin Ridley.
To put in CJ Beathard.
I would say throw in Derek Carr. The Jags have allowed the 5th most fantasy points to the quarterback position.
I thought we were going to go 4-2 with the Jaguars. We ended up with 4-2 with the Saints.
Yeah, just completely fading the running game, though. I kind of like it. Kind
Yeah.
of like it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I figure
So
most
rich.
people are going to have ETN in some form or fashion. He's probably going to be like an 80% play in
Gonna
the
be
showdown,
Filthy,
and then like
disgustingly rich.
25% in the captain.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
We'll
That's
throw
big money.
this in certainly in a lineup, but other than that,
Yeah, we're good. Moody is not droppable. Just a bad matchup. It was the wind, the crazy wind, right? He hits that field goal on any other day when it's not 30-mile-an-hour gusts.
absolutely. All right. Well, stay tuned for Alarm Fantasy Football coming up at the top of the hour. Anything else that we want to touch on before we get out of here, Britt and Coop?
That's it.
Yeah, tune in to the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sirius XM, and we may or may not be debuting a new song.
Ooh,
So
fancy.
check it out.
I like it.
Dropping it. Like it. All right. Stay tuned for also Alarm Fantasy Football, my target report bullet points video hitting Fantasy Alarm YouTube today. Gonna be talking about Michael Mayer, gonna be talking about Devin Singletary, gonna be talking about JSN, so that should be fun. For Coop, for Britt, I'm Kevin Tompkins. Someone else do the
Toodles.
Toodles.